My daughter left me at the hospital after open-heart surgery, so I took an Uber home and found out she was hosting an estate sale with my furniture. So, I called my lawyer and sold the house, but not before I got everything on camera. I'm Dorothy Harrison. Most people call me Dot. I'm 68 years old, and up until last November, I thought I knew my daughter. I raised her in Houston, Texas, taught elementary school for 37 years so I could give her a better life than I had. Her father passed when she was 12, and it was just the two of us for a long time. I worked double shifts during summer school, took night classes to get my master's degree, all so Sarah could go to college without debt, and she did. Got her business degree from UT Austin, married a man named Marcus Webb 3 years ago. They moved into my house in the Heights about 18 months back, temporarily, they said, just until they got on their feet. I should have seen the signs earlier. I really should have. It started small. My grandmother's pearl earrings went missing from my jewelry box. When I asked Sarah about them, she got defensive, said I probably misplaced them, that I was getting forgetful. I'm 68, not 90. I remember exactly where I put those pearls. Then it was questions about my finances. Marcus asking about my retirement account at dinner. Sarah wondering if I'd updated my will recently. Just making sure everything's in order. Mom, she'd say, we want to make sure you're protected. Protected. That word should have been a red flag the size of Texas. The thing about being a teacher for almost 4 decades is you learn to read people. You learn to spot the kid who's lying about homework, the parent who's making excuses, the administrator who's about to cut your budget. But when it's your own daughter, you make excuses. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. You think about that little girl who used to climb into your lap and read with you every night. You remember the teenager who came to you crying about her first heartbreak. You can't reconcile that person with the woman standing in your kitchen asking invasive questions about your bank account. I told myself I was imagining things. Then came the chest pain. It was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I was at Kroger picking up groceries for the dinner I was planning to cook. Sarah and Marcus had invited some friends over, and I wanted everything to be perfect. I was reaching for a bag of cranberries when my chest suddenly felt like someone had wrapped it in a vice. The pain shot down my left arm. The store manager called 911. I remember lying on that linoleum floor, fluorescent lights burning my eyes, thinking about my father. He died of a heart attack at 71, 3 years older than I am now. The paramedics got me to Houston Methodist Hospital. The cardiologist, Dr. Patel, didn't sugarcoat it. I needed open-heart surgery. Triple bypass. My arteries were 90% blocked. You're lucky you made it to the hospital, Mrs. Harrison, he said. This could have killed you. Sarah cried when I told her. Real tears, or at least they looked real. She held my hand and promised she'd be there every step of the way. Marcus stood in the corner of my hospital room, unusually quiet, scrolling through his phone. I remember thinking that was odd, but I was too scared about the surgery to pay much attention. They scheduled the operation for the Monday after Thanksgiving. I spent the holiday in the hospital on a clear liquid diet while Sarah posted pictures on Facebook of the beautiful dinner she'd cooked in my kitchen, using my china. I saw the post later. She didn't mention I was in the hospital. Just grateful for family and blessings with a photo of my dining room table set for 8 people. The surgery was supposed to take 4 to 6 hours. Dr. Patel explained they'd crack my sternum, stop my heart, put me on a bypass machine, harvest veins from my leg, and reroute my blood flow. Then they'd restart my heart and wire my chest back together. I'd need 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. No lifting anything over 5 pounds. No driving for at least a month. I'd need help at home. Don't worry, Mom, Sarah had said the night before surgery, squeezing my hand. We'll take care of everything. I went under anesthesia at 6:30 a.m. on Monday, November 27th. When I woke up 9 hours later in the cardiac ICU, my chest felt like it had been hit by a truck, because, essentially, it had. The breathing tube was the worst part. I couldn't talk, couldn't swallow, could only lie there while machines beeped and nurses checked my vitals every 15 minutes. Sarah visited that evening for about 20 minutes. She seemed distracted, kept checking her phone. Marcus and I have to handle some things at the house, she said, but I'll be back tomorrow. I spent 3 days in the ICU and 2 more in a regular room. Sarah visited twice. Once for 15 minutes on Wednesday, once for 10 minutes on Friday morning. Both times, she seemed rushed, agitated. When I asked if everything was okay, she snapped at me. "I'm doing the best I can, Mom. I have a life, you know. I can't just drop everything." I was being discharged on Saturday, December 2nd. Exactly 1 week after my heart had been stopped and restarted. The discharge nurse, a kind woman named Patricia who'd been checking on me each shift, reviewed my care instructions. I needed someone to drive me home. Someone to help me for the first week. Someone to pick up my medications. I'd called Sarah that morning from the hospital phone to confirm pickup time. 3 p.m., I'd said. "The hospital doesn't let you leave in a taxi or Uber after major surgery. You need a person." 3 p.m. came and went. 3:30. 4 o'clock. I called Sarah's cell phone. It went to voicemail. I called the house phone. No answer. By 4:30, Patricia came back to check on me. I was still sitting in the wheelchair by the nurse's station, overnight bag on my lap, wearing the clothes Sarah had dropped off earlier in the week. "Mrs. Harrison? Is someone coming?" Patricia asked gently. I tried Sarah's phone again. Voicemail. I felt something crack inside my chest, and it had nothing to do with the sternum they'd just wired back together. "I don't think so," I said quietly. Patricia's face did something between sympathy and anger. "Let me talk to my supervisor." Here's what I learned about hospital policy that day. They really don't like letting cardiac surgery patients leave alone. Patricia's supervisor, a no-nonsense woman named Carol, tried calling Sarah 3 times. No answer. They couldn't legally keep me, but they also couldn't in good conscience let me take a taxi. We were at a standstill. That's when Patricia did something I'll never forget. She pulled up Uber on her phone and ordered me a car. "The hospital can't officially endorse this," she said quietly, "but I'm doing this as a person, not a nurse. You live in the Heights, right? 20 minutes away?" I nodded. "The driver's name is Miguel Santos. 5-star rating. I'm going to meet him at the door and explain that you just had surgery. I'm going to tell him to drive carefully and help you to your front door. Is that okay?" I started crying. Not because I was sad, because this stranger was showing me more care than my own daughter. Miguel was a kind man, probably in his 50s, who drove a spotless Honda Accord. Patricia walked me out, got me settled in the back seat, and leaned through the window. "You take care of yourself, Mrs. Harrison. And if you don't mind me saying, someone who doesn't show up for their mother after heart surgery has some serious explaining to do." The drive home was quiet. Miguel kept the radio low, took the turns gentle, avoided potholes. When we pulled up to my house on Ashland Street, the house I'd lived in for 32 years, the house where I'd raised Sarah, I noticed something immediately wrong. There were cars parked all along the street, cars I didn't recognize, and my front door was wide open. "You having a party, Mrs. Harrison?" Miguel asked, confused. "I don't think so," I said slowly. He helped me out of the car, insisted on walking me to the door despite my protests. That's when we both saw it. A big handmade sign in my front yard, yellow poster board with red letters, "Estate sale, Saturday only. Everything must go." I stood there on my own front walk, 1 week post-open heart surgery, staring at a sign advertising the sale of my belongings. Miguel saw it the same time I did. "Mrs. Harrison, do you want me to call the police?" "Not yet," I said, though I'm not sure why. Maybe I needed to see it with my own eyes. We walked through my front door. My living room was full of strangers, people picking through my things like vultures. My grandmother's quilt was draped over the couch with a price tag, $40. The coffee table my late husband built was marked $75. Books I'd collected over decades were in boxes labeled $2 each. And standing in the corner, taking money from a woman buying my lamp, was my daughter. Sarah looked up and saw me. For 1 second, just one, I saw panic flash across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by annoyance. "Mom, what are you doing here?" What was I doing here? In my own house. "You were supposed to pick me up at 3, I said. My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. "Oh my God, that was today? I thought it was tomorrow. I'm so sorry, I got the days mixed up." She didn't sound sorry. She sounded irritated that I'd shown up. "This is my house," I said, looking around at the strangers touching my things. These are my belongings. We talked about this, Mom. You're moving into assisted living. Remember? You said it was fine to sell your stuff. I had said no such thing. I had never said any such thing. Sarah, I just had open heart surgery. I was never moving anywhere. Marcus appeared from the kitchen, holding my mother's china teapot, the one that had been in my family for 3 generations. He had the decency to look uncomfortable when he saw me. Dorothy. Hey, how are you feeling? How am I feeling? You're selling my house out from under me. Okay, let's not make a scene, Sarah said, her voice sharp. She turned to the people in the living room, who had all stopped shopping to watch the drama. Sorry, folks, just a family misunderstanding. Everything's still for sale. That's when Miguel stepped forward. I'd almost forgotten he was there. Ma'am, he said to Sarah, I just drove your mother home from the hospital after her heart surgery. Surgery you were supposed to pick her up from. She's been looking for you all afternoon. Sarah's face turned red. This is a private family matter. I don't know who you are, but my name is Miguel Santos, and I'm a witness. He pulled out his phone. I'm also recording this conversation. For Mrs. Harrison's protection, I could have kissed him. You can't record in my house, Sarah sputtered. It's not your house, I said quietly. It's mine. My name is on the deed. That's when Marcus made his mistake. Actually, Dorothy, we need to talk about that. Sarah and I have been consulting with an attorney. Given your age and your recent medical issues, we think it's time to consider a conservatorship for your own good. The word hit me like a slap. Conservatorship. They wanted to declare me incompetent, take control of my finances, my property, my life. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and I saw a stranger. Get out, I said. Mom, don't be dramatic. Get out of my house. We live here, Sarah shouted. Not anymore. I'm giving you 1 hour to pack your personal belongings and leave. Everything else stays. You can't kick us out, Marcus said. We have rights. We've been living here for 18 months. Texas tenant law. I don't care about tenant law. This is my house, and you just admitted in front of a witness that you're trying to steal it from me. Get out before I call the police. Sarah's face went from red to white. You ungrateful, do you know how hard it's been taking care of you? Do you know what we've sacrificed? You didn't show up to pick me up from heart surgery, I said. My voice was shaking, but I kept going. You sold my mother's china. You're trying to declare me incompetent. That's not sacrifice, Sarah. That's elder abuse. The room had gone completely silent. The shoppers had started edging toward the door. Miguel stood solid beside me, phone still recording. I'm calling our lawyer, Marcus said, pulling out his phone. Good, I said. Tell him I'll be calling mine Monday morning. And Miguel, thank you for recording this. I'm going to need that video. Already backed up to the cloud, Mrs. Harrison, he said quietly. Sarah grabbed Marcus's arm. Let's go. We don't need her or this falling apart house. We'll be fine without her money. They stormed out. Didn't take an hour. Didn't pack anything. Just left. The shoppers scattered like roaches when you turn on the light. Within 10 minutes, my house was empty except for me and Miguel and my half-sold belongings scattered everywhere. I walked through the rooms in a daze. My bedroom had been stripped. They'd sold my dresser, my nightstands, even the quilt from my bed. In Sarah's room, their room now, I guess I found papers on the desk. Legal documents. I picked one up with shaking hands. Petition for conservatorship of the person and estate of Dorothy Mae Harrison. Filed 3 days ago, while I was in the hospital, recovering from surgery. Mrs. Harrison, you should sit down, Miguel said gently. He'd followed me upstairs. You just had major surgery. You shouldn't be walking around like this. He was right. My chest was screaming. I felt dizzy. But I also felt something else, something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. Miguel, can I ask you a huge favor? Of course. Can you drive me to Walgreens? I need to pick up my prescriptions, and I need to buy a notebook. I need to start writing things down. He drove me to the pharmacy, waited while I got my medications, drove me to Office Depot where I bought 3 notebooks and a pack of pens. Then he drove me back home. When we pulled up, he helped me out of the car and walked me to my door. Mrs. Harrison, Are you going to be okay here alone tonight? I don't know, I said honestly, but I need to figure this out. He handed me a card. That's my number. My wife's a nurse at St. Luke's. She works nights, so I'm usually up. If you need anything, you call me. I don't care what time it is. I can't pay you. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking you to call me if you need help. My mother is your age. If someone did to her what your daughter just did to you, I'd want someone to be there for her. I took the card, and I cried. Not sad tears, this time. Grateful ones. That night, sitting alone in my half-empty house with my chest held together by wire and my heart held together by spite, I started writing. I wrote down every detail I could remember. The missing jewelry, the weird financial questions, the estate sale, the conservatorship petition, Miguel's testimony, everything. The doorbell camera. I'd forgotten about the doorbell camera. Marcus had installed it 6 months ago, said it was for security. I pulled up the app on my phone and my hands started shaking. The footage was all there. Sarah and Marcus letting people into my house. Sarah taking money for my belongings. The whole estate sale recorded in high definition. I backed up everything to 3 different places. Email, cloud storage, a USB drive. Sunday, I rested. Doctor's orders. But I also made phone calls. To my friend Janet, who'd retired from teaching the same year I did. To my cousin Linda in Dallas. To my neighbor across the street, Bob, who I'd known for 20 years. I told them what happened. Every single one of them was horrified. Janet came over with groceries. Linda called her son, who's a lawyer in Dallas. Bob told me he'd seen the estate sale and thought it was weird, but assumed I knew about it. Bob, if I'm ever having an estate sale, it means I'm dead, I said. Noted, he said. Monday morning, I called the number Linda's son gave me. Patricia Chen, elder law attorney. I explained the situation. She had me email her everything. The conservatorship petition, the doorbell camera footage, Miguel's contact information, photos of the estate sale sign, bank statements showing unauthorized withdrawals I'd just discovered. $3,000, gone, transferred to an account in Sarah's name, Mrs. Harrison, Patricia said after reviewing everything. This is textbook elder financial abuse, and the fact that they filed for conservatorship while you were in the hospital recovering from major surgery is particularly egregious. Are you willing to fight this? Yes. It's going to be ugly. This is your daughter. I know. Are you sure? I thought about that little girl who used to read with me. Then I thought about the woman who sold my mother's china while I was recovering from heart surgery. I'm sure. Patricia filed a counterpetition within 48 hours, emergency hearing to dismiss the conservatorship petition and issue a restraining order. We got a court date for December 20th, 2.5 weeks away. In the meantime, Patricia had me see Dr. Patel for a cognitive evaluation. We need to prove you're completely competent, she explained. Dr. Patel was furious when I told him what happened. The evaluation took 2 hours. Memory tests, logic puzzles, medical history. At the end, he signed a letter stating I was fully competent and recovering well from surgery. Your daughter should be ashamed of herself, he said. I also got a full financial audit. Patricia recommended a forensic accountant who specialized in elder abuse cases. It took her 3 days to find everything. Sarah and Marcus had been stealing from me for over a year. Small amounts at first, $50 here, $100 there, then bigger. The $3,000 transfer was just the latest. Total, $18,000. They were probably planning to take everything once they got conservatorship, the accountant explained. Sell the house, drain your retirement, put you in the cheapest facility they could find, keep the difference. I felt sick. The hearing was in Judge Morrison's courtroom. Patricia told me he was tough but fair, known for not tolerating elder abuse. Sarah and Marcus showed up with their attorney, a slick-looking guy named Brad something. Sarah wouldn't look at me. Marcus looked angry. Their attorney went first. Painted a picture of a declining elderly woman who couldn't manage her affairs, who'd just had major surgery, who needed supervision and care. He made me sound like I was on death's door. Then Patricia stood up. She presented Dr. Patel's evaluation, the forensic accounting, the doorbell camera footage, and she'd gotten something I didn't expect. Patricia, the nurse from the hospital, had written a sworn statement about how Sarah abandoned me post-surgery. Miguel had come to court and was ready to testify. When the judge watched the doorbell footage of Sarah selling my belongings while I was in the hospital, his face went hard. When he read the statement from the hospital, he looked disgusted. When Patricia showed him the conservatorship petition had been filed 3 days before my discharge, he actually shook his head. "Mr. Webb, Miss Harrison," Judge Morrison said, "I've been on the bench for 23 years. I've seen a lot of things, but this is one of the most blatant cases of attempted elder financial abuse I've encountered. Not only am I denying your petition for conservatorship, I'm ordering you to repay every cent you've stolen from Mrs. Harrison. That's $18,000, plus court costs, plus attorney fees. And I'm issuing a 5-year restraining order. You are not to contact Dorothy Harrison directly or indirectly. You are not to come within 500 feet of her property. Do you understand?" Sarah started crying. Real tears this time. "But she's my mother. You should have thought about that before you hosted an estate sale while she was recovering from open-heart surgery," the judge said coldly. "Bailiff, we're done here." I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. My chest still hurt. My heart was still broken. But I'd won. Sarah and Marcus had 30 days to repay the money. Patricia put a lien on Marcus's car to make sure they did. They paid, every cent. With that $18,000, plus some of my own retirement money, I did something I'd been thinking about since that night in my empty house. I contacted Houston Area Women's Center. They run a program for displaced elderly women, women who've been abused by family members, women who have nowhere to go. I set up a fund, the Dorothy Harrison Emergency Housing Fund. It's not huge, but it helps. I also started volunteering. Once I was cleared for normal activity in February, I started teaching financial literacy classes for seniors. How to spot financial abuse, how to protect your accounts, what to do if you suspect a family member is stealing from you. Patricia comes sometimes to talk about legal rights. My house is slowly filling up again. Thrift store furniture, hand-me-downs from friends. It's not the same as it was, but it's mine. Sarah tried to contact me once, about 6 months after the hearing. A letter, forwarded through Patricia because of the restraining order. She apologized, said Marcus had been the one pushing for everything, said she'd made mistakes, asked if we could talk. I didn't respond. Maybe that makes me cold. But some things can't be fixed with an apology. You don't abandon your mother after heart surgery and get to say sorry later. I did send her one thing, though. A news article about the fund I'd set up, about the classes I teach, about how I'd turned the worst thing that ever happened to me into something that helps other people. I wanted her to know that she didn't break me. She made me stronger. I'm 70 now, 2 years post-surgery. Dr. Patel says my heart is doing great. The emotional damage took longer to heal than the physical, if I'm being honest. But I'm okay now, better than okay. And if you're watching this, if you're going through something similar, I want you to know something. Document everything. Every weird conversation, every missing item, every financial discrepancy. Write it down. Take photos, save emails, get legal help. There are people like Patricia out there who specialize in this. There are resources. The National Center on Elder Abuse has a hotline. Your local area agency on aging can help. You are not crazy. You are not being paranoid. If something feels wrong, trust your gut. And remember, the best revenge isn't spite. It's surviving. It's thriving. It's taking what they tried to use to destroy you and turning it into something that helps others. That's how you win.